Welcome to Global Sandwich, where you can eat a bunch of shitty conversations.
For shizzle.
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. So, what's going on in your world?
Mm. Lots of fun, lots of good things, lots of parties. It was the summer. Today the rain came, but I think it's gonna be back. The summer is gonna be back for a little while. And yeah, I went to a festival in Poland with a Berlin techno crowd. Amazing, man, just the best place. You have to come next year. It's Garbage Festival. And it's in the woods, it's in a nature reserve, and it's 10 clubs in the middle of the forest, and it's totally magical, it's totally creative, it's peaceful. It's Woodstock for, people that like techno or a tech house or electronic music, but there's a lot of music styles, so even if that's not your number one choice of music, you still will love it. There's a lake, totally pristine, secluded lake where you can swim in, like, with super clean water, and just a whole bunch of people from all over the world celebrating together. And it has become really international because I've been there like 5 years ago, and it was all like you would speak German, like it would be Berlin people mostly, but now it turned into something super international, super famous. Like, it was 10,000 people 5 years ago, now it was 18,000 people. So also the whole consciousness level changed. Before it was all environmental, clean, no trash. Now they barely can handle it. Supposedly they want to turn the numbers down so it get so what it's famous for, the environmentally conscious um yeah, idea behind it, that what it was famous for, they want to try to get that back, I guess. But still, it was amazing because
But
meeting so many people from all over the world is just interesting.
so recently I was involved in two projects, and they brought me in because they're extremely lacking in culture.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I measure if I'm going to get involved in a project is three things. Am I having fun? Am I being conscious? Am I making money? So a lot of people want to be, and I get caught up in this from time to time, being so serious about doing good in the world that they might be toxic because they're kind of a martyr. A martyr dies for a cause.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we need more of us living for a cause.
Yeah.
So the fun that you're talking about and a lot of those different things are very important. Being conscious is, I want to I don't want to get caught up in the money, which is the third one, making money. I don't want to get caught up in the money or have the products that's not enjoyable for me, so it's not sustainable. Because if I'm not happy, I'm not I don't move in the world as well.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to being conscious is, we can't be making the world worse or be making the company worse by doing a project. It's got to at least stay where it was. And if then there's money, I can invest that in other projects that are socially responsible, that will go. But if it's going below, where if I'm making the situation worse by coming in, or I believe the people are making the situation worse, then I'll just escape from the project.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the ways, and I could be wrong because I haven't been to the festival, I just heard about it 5 minutes ago, is is getting people to buy in to the culture. So you have 10,000 people. How many people were there?
18,000.
19,000. So you
Eight.
have 19. Well, how much?
It doesn't matter. 18,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
18,000 that are part of the culture, that are all about cleaning it up, are all about it being resourceful, all about being that without sucking the fun out of the project. Because a lot of times they're like, okay, we're 5% of the people, and we're going to be there, and we're going to take control of cleaning it up. No, why not create a culture of everybody taking ownership in the area? And that can be little things that the band say on stage. It can be little signs that you put in the different place. How you treat the people that are coming in instead of the bouncers like pushing somebody because they're dancing too hard or something like that. That can be part of. What was that?
Not at this place, man. This is
No,
this is
I'm
another
saying
world.
like they have
There's
a
no
problem.
bouncers. The bouncers, the
Yeah.
trees are the bouncers. The trees just.
But I'm talking,
Yeah. I know.
Yaniq, I'm talking about culture in general, and you've seen that type of stuff happen before.
Yes.
But
That's why I
but
love
if
this festival so much, because it's not real. It's not even realistic. There's no bouncers. There's 18,000 people, and there's no problems. It's incredible.
I believe that's 100% possible. I
Yeah.
believe that's 100% possible.
Yeah, I've seen
I
it.
had a project that I had to step away from, because a woman was hanging out in a bar, and she was flirting with a lot. So it's somebody that was involved in a project. She's up at a place, hanging out, and she's flirting with a lot of people. She was flirting with this rich guy. Um, she was in a relationship, not my business. She's flirting with this guy, and then these are her words. Then he approached her, and she said no, and then they blocked her out of playing pool. And then this one guy that I know that I introduced to her, that we were doing projects together. They didn't let him play pool either. So they're in an area that there's a lot of people that have money. A lot of them are white. And then she got a guy that's a veteran riled up that they were being racist towards him. And then I know one of the guys that's playing in the band, who's an African American, he got mad at her. But the thing is I told her, I go, you almost got him shot. And this is a 42-year-old woman. I have conversations with people like this all the time. They at least listen. Then I found out she does this all the time from her boyfriend, who's now her ex-boyfriend. She does this all the time. She'll get in fights with people. She's all about positivity, but she's getting in fights with people all the time and being negative and talking about people that are like her, like as they're bad people. And I wasn't asking her to agree with me, but sometimes it's always how they respond and how they resist the information that tells the real story. Why was I upset about that? Because if we're in a place like doing festivals out in the middle of nowhere, and she's the leader of a lot of things that are going out there, she acts like that at the festival, which is the way that she moves in the world a lot of times. I mean, she's like, there's lots of bars that hate her. There's lots of bartenders that hate her. There's lots of different people. Same here. A lot of those people hate me, but there's no conflict being started with me. There's no conflict. I don't get to the point of conflict even close to it. But if we're up in the middle of nowhere and it's kind of like in a closed in area and 1,000 people are there, that place could go apeshit in a short period of time. And for this festival, there's going to be the 10% of the budget was going to police. Like there's going to be police up there and everything. And they're not going to be able to say, oh, she's instigating everything. Everybody's going to side with her. And then it's just going to be and it was the fact that she wasn't willing to have the conversation. So when you die down on those conversations, then that's when it becomes, I mean, when we're, I treat everybody that I'm working on a project as a humble general. It doesn't matter on their age. You're a humble general. Not necessarily, and a lot of times people don't like that I use military concepts, but the general part is like how much power we have to lead, all of us, even young children. when I say children, I'm not talking about college students. I call them young adults. But going into that is leaders have to be more accountable for the vibration or the ripples from their actions.
Mm-hmm.
The vibration was the hippie thing, the ripples from their actions. Because if you're a business owner or you're doing events, all that's really bad for business. And I'm not a rule follower, but the way I move in the world and the way that I measure things is like, for instance, I've done cannabis parties outside, and I don't even know if it's legal or not. I would imagine it's not legal. But one of the things that I do is 2 times the police car drove by. One time a police car was parking real close to our event, and then I just told everybody, I was like, just put your cannabis down, and then just don't smoke while the cops like right there. And then the what would happen is I would go directly to the cops and I would talk to them. And then the thing is for everybody to slowly disperse without to the fact, because as a Bob Marley impersonator, I'll get publicity for getting a ticket for fucking weed. Like every move I win. So I kind of went on a large rant because I've been through a lot in the last week.
Oh,
Most
poor little
positive.
Bob. Poor little
Yeah,
Bob.
yeah,
No woman, no cry.
yeah.
Hey, let me show you a video of the festival so you can get a vibe of it. You up for it?
Yeah.
Okay, let me see if I can share this. And let me know if you can hear the sound too. Share screen. Yeah, works. Can you see that?
Not yet. Okay, now. Is that outdoors? Is
Ask me
that?
later. I can't hear you.
Oh, I can't hear it.
No music?
I can't hear.
Yeah, that's the end of the video. Did you see? Did you hear it?
No, I didn't hear it.
No music? Okay.
But going while
But
you're trying
you
to
saw
figure
it, right?
yeah, I saw it. But while you're trying to figure that out, and you don't necessarily have to. Maybe we're not
No,
supposed to
it's
put
fine.
music in
It's
that
fine.
kind
The
of
music
affects stuff.
wasn't that
But
special.
see how close those people are together. See how that stuff. A lot of that has to do with the intentions are set in the culture of how you set things up.
Right.
It's I mean, people, for instance, like when I did those when our mutual friend used to do parties at my house, and the time we were playing the drums, when I was playing the drums and you were DJing, remember that
Yeah.
party?
Yes.
For like somebody would get there and they would be alone and they'd be waiting for their friends and everything, and then I would approach them and talk to them. I would give them a drink. So there was not anything that that's not somebody that's going to steal from me. That's not somebody that's gonna get mad because and all of a sudden take it out on that. If you noticed, a lot of those parties, they were very peaceful, and I'm always inclusive. I don't shut anybody out of the parties.
Yeah.
That's the culture of that
I
happens on
hate
a lot
that.
of the
I hate
campus, and
that.
I know you don't want to,
Yeah.
because you set the wrong person off. And a lot of people think I'm like necessarily paranoid about that. Is like, even when I was in college, I used to get in fights, and you could say a lot of things, but I went to a small college. I didn't like when they had parties and they blocked people out. Like, that was even when I was a hot-headed like brawler. I didn't like when people like excluded people from the parties. I was like, we go to a
I
small
hate that.
school. Like,
I hate that. I think it's the stupidity of mankind, because mostly what happens, even if a person that comes into a party that is likely to cause trouble. These people need the party most in order to heal. Those are the people that can see hope in a party. They see another way, you know. They have the frustration in someone that kicks off a fight is always something that's pushed down in their soul, that some trauma from past, you know, like being mad at the world or something, you know. And it's not something you can control so much, you know. It's something that has to heal. And I think parties are a perfect place for this to heal. And then people exclude people, and then just as the wheel keeps on turning, you know, like, and humankind doesn't get any better, you know.
I think that's why there's an overcorrection in some of these things that are coming to the forefront.
Absolutely, yeah.
Um, I it so and I don't want to like necessarily pick on some things. It's like some of these things they have like ideas that are just like way out there and totally confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because we didn't have the conversations 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. A lot of people give credence to the silent generation because they just went to war, came back, worked for a company, didn't complain, all that stuff. But they also didn't talk about how women were treated. They also didn't talk about how minorities were treated. Um,
Yeah.
and for me, I used to like up until like 10 years ago, I was like more of a fan of the silent generation. But I think all the generations got it a little. All of us have got it a little. If you break down all the people to individuals, I think we're all collectively God,
Yeah.
and we're all a little piece of it. So when you meet that person that may be somebody that might be apt to do something, you're kind of creating from the level of the cause of why they came there, and you're cutting off a piece of yourself.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah. You're cutting off.
Now,
Yeah.
now if I start to see patterns of them potentially doing something, then that's a different story. If they're actually doing something,
Oh, yeah, yeah, that's
that's a different story.
of course, then you kind of got to step in, and you got to take ownership, and you got to tell. I mean, if it gets really bad, you even can use violence. You know, it gets even to the point of where you can actually use physical force to stop somebody from doing harm to somebody else. And many people are cowards and don't step in. You know, and this is like on the one hand, you know, this is the thing. You know, many people confuse um uh, the inclusion, people that are inclusive, with being weak, but that has nothing to do with it, you know. Like, oftentimes people that are very inclusive might be the most confident or brave in such a situation to step in and not be afraid of being shot or being killed or being beaten or whatever, you know. So yeah, people are sometimes surprised, you know, about the these weak and loving people, that if they have true love, you know, and many of them do, that suddenly those are the ones stepping in when it comes to things like that, you know. So um I'm surprised, like, how oftentimes this is like goodness is interpreted as weakness, and I don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on that because I see the other side of that as being more weakness, focusing on yourself, and like only focusing on yourself, and I see those as insecurities and weakness. Um, and I'm not a big fan of arrogance, whether you have $1 billion or you have $1 in the bank, or whether you have a strong level of status or you're not known at all. Because I see a lot of people that they just have a little excess on it, and then all of a sudden they're walking around like they're the biggest star ever, and that's when they start to sabotage, and we all sabotage in certain ways.
Well,
um
let me say it this way: it is more likely that somebody that gives has less than that person has more. So the world is upside down, man. People run after people that have more. And I'm not saying that people that have more are always more likely to give less. I'm not saying this, but it is more likely that somebody that has less has given more.
there's a again, I'm not religious, but there's a story in the Bible I remember from when I was in preschool, or like a long time ago, that there's this woman that there's a bunch of rich people like giving like tons of money, and they had bags full, and they're just like sitting, and this poor woman just gave a penny. I mean, that's how they said it to me. I mean, I don't know
Yeah,
what
I don't know
the
about the first part, but the idea is correct. Yeah.
yeah. That's like I don't yeah, I don't know.
I
Like
like
maybe it's
your
just
I like your story better.
yeah. But I mean, but remember, I heard the story when I was in preschool, so they had to break it down like that. What's a
And then
shilling?
Jesus says she has given
How
more.
come they didn't use a penny? Um,
She
so
has
she
lots
probably like was
more.
telling that story to preschoolers for years, and she had to just like, I gotta change it. I'm sick of these questions.
Yes. I mean, it's the story. It's there to. It's a creative piece, so it's there to be changed. Yeah. Some
and
would get furious.
and also I know a lot of people that say that the rich are the ones that are more generous and everything, and I can't argue that that's not also true.
No,
Um,
you're not more generous when you have like the generosity is measured by how much you're left with, not by how much you give, but by how much you're left with, because
but
that's
that's
a sacrifice in your giving.
so I don't know if that's I don't believe that's a I don't believe there are any absolute truths. So I
There's not.
except for that there's no absolute truths.
Yeah. But I think this is the point of the story, though, you know. The point of the story is she has given more. That's what Jesus says. And that the point of that is she has given more because she has sacrificed more. For the little she has given, which was nothing, she has sacrificed way more than those who gave more and had more, you know? Yeah.
For sure.
So
But I mean, it's I don't think and a lot of times a lot of these billionaires that made money the right way, and when I say the right way, it sounds like a big judgment, but made money in a way that they created something in the world that made the world better. I'm not asking too much with that. A lot of these billionaires that made money the right way, and then some that made it the wrong way, are becoming philanthropists. And a lot of the things that they're doing are very destructive to the earth, and very much created in a way of an ivory tower.
mm,
That's that idea that's out of touch. Um, that they're that they don't they haven't really been they're not in the world, they're not like really seeing like how things work, they're so out
bubble.
of touch from certain realities that that their solutions aren't necessarily proper. They get the attention because they're billionaires, but their solutions aren't necessarily the most proper. They're thought out. They think out their ideas. They talk to a lot of people that are also out of touch with their ideas. Like for me, I saw a bunch of people, and I may have said this like several times, but I saw a whole bunch of people talking about what teenagers need. And I think it's just so much easier to just like ask a teenager, like, what do you need? Like, and it's going to have to be a conversation. And you may hear some things that don't make sense to you. And
Yeah.
that's when you ask more questions. And that's when you might learn something. And also, there's no algorithm called a woman. There's no algorithm called a man. There's no algorithm called a teenager. So it changes. It's not a pendulum. It's a skateboard park.
You said it last time too.
Yeah. So and one of the things that I added to
And you
this
said,
is
yeah,
what
yeah,
happens in
my ass.
what happens, like a lot of people may look at some things that, not everything comes easy to me, but some things that come real easy to me, they don't understand that that was a lot of me evolving. That's a lot of evolution in my DNA for a long period of time. That's a lot from that I learned from both my mom and my dad, and all the teachers and mentors that I had to experience. And that's a lot of work, personal work I did myself. And it may look easy, but also it 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 was there's a lot of bump and bruises like skateboarding. So if you see a skateboarder that looks flawless, that was a lot of falling down. That's a lot of scrapes. That's a lot of broken wrists, broken ankles,
Mm.
dislocated stuff. So when you have a conversation with somebody and you're like being humble and listening to them and having an understanding where they're coming from, and then associating it from when you've been put in that same situation in different parts of your life, that's when you have a true understanding.
Yeah, and you never get to a full understanding. But one thing that is a very good thing to incorporate into your mindset for everybody, I think, is the moment you judge situations, you're never wise. You're always wise when you let, because of all the variables, all the complexity of the world, you're always wise when you show at least that much understanding, that you say, I don't understand, but there is a reason for that person reacting that way or being that way, and I don't judge. And what I see most people still doing, well, they're not enlightened, most people are still not enlightened, is judging people. Like from morning till evening, people are judging each other. So even, I mean, I'm judging people, of course, everybody's judging people.
You're judging.
But
You're judging. You're judging
I'm
people.
aware
You're
that
judging. Judging
I'm aware
people.
that I'm
You're judging.
judging, and I find out later
I'm
and I regret it or
You're
whatever.
judging. Stop for a second. You're judging people that are judging.
I'm judging people that are judging, but I actually believe that I believe that this is okay, because you cannot disentangle this knot if you don't name it, you know. And I'm not naming people, but I'm naming the phenomenon, and I'm not stupid and not observing. I'm observing people that are judging. Judgment is the killer, you know. Satan, the word Satan, the devil in original Greek, is actually not translated. It should be translated. It's a real tragedy. It's not translated. It's the accuser. It's the accuser. It's
So
judging.
what would you say the opposite of enlightenment is?
Opposite of enlightenment
Yeah.
is being asleep.
Okay. So I think we all go bounce between being asleep and being enlightened.
Obviously, yeah, yeah.
So sometimes to get a full understanding, we have to judge. Judgment isn't enlightenment. I agree with you 100%. But sometimes we have to. Sometimes I was like, something that person's doing is like bothering me. I but I gotta sit present. I need to talk to this person. This is a good person. I need to talk to this person and be present to them and listen to them to help them out. I had a situation recently that this guy was going through a lot of stuff, and I was supposed to take him to the meditation garden, and then all of a sudden I called him and he was really fucking mad. Not at me, but really mad.
Mm-hmm.
And then I let him lead me so he could follow me.
Mm-hmm.
So I just and then instead of going to the meditation garden where I wanted to show him something, then I gave him a second option, and then I just said, okay, how about this? I go to you, we get in your car and you take me where we go. He takes me to a pool hall and we're drinking and playing pool, which wasn't what I signed up for, but that was the best way to let him lead me.
Mm-hmm.
And he was able to get out a lot of anger, and we were able to talk all about a lot of stuff when we were distracted while playing pool. And I was able to get to the same outcome. And then after that, we went to go hang out at a lake and there's some ducks that were by us, and he still appeared mad for it, but the ducks were like chilling right by us. So I was like, he can't be that mad. I've calmed him down a lot. He can't be that mad if these ducks aren't weird out by us being so close to him.
It always comes down to ducks with you. I have a t-shirt with the duck.
They quack me up. Isn't your guy Eckhart Tolle talks about ducks also?
Yeah, he does. That's true. Yeah. He does.
Ducks are very wise. One of the most embarrassing days of my life. We were fishing, and I was like very cocky in high school. You couldn't tell me anything, and we were fishing, and this duck kept on taking the fish away. And then the bait. They're taking the bait away. He just go down there and take it off the hook. He knew exactly how to take it off the hook without hurting himself. Then we were trying to feed him, and then my other friend was coming behind him, the duck with the net, and the duck just like made us look so stupid. It was so much it was so much smarter than us. It was so much smarter than us.
Yeah, God incarnate.
I
And yeah,
recently saw I I recently saw this video because that woman that I was talking about earlier, she somebody was saying that she was smart, and I was like, I don't think she's smart. And then I talked about this video of a parasite. There's this parasite that can only mate and in a cat's stomach. So what this parasite has evolved to do is that it has to get into rats because cats eat rats. And what it does is it goes into the rats and makes it so the rats can't smell cat piss. And it's not because usually they're afraid of cat piss.
wow.
So the rats can't smell cat piss. I don't know if it's rats or mice or both. They can't smell it. So they'll just be around a cat. And even to the point, this parasite has caused the cats to like the smell.
I
Sorry, the
love your
rats to
stories
like the smell
about
of cat
rats,
piss.
piss, and parasites.
Yeah, I get to tell that all the
I'm sure
time.
it's the best story for Thanksgiving dinner.
But but also we have we it within us
Yeah.
is we have a lot of parasites, but like positive, and there's a lot of positive and negative stuff in us that balances us out, and it all knows how to survive, and we know how to survive. So it's and going back to her, it's like I think she like picked up like how to balance her energy with people that so people wouldn't necessarily like see that something's wrong, she's not following up on what she's doing, whatever. I took it on as a challenge, and we did get a lot of stuff together, but it was just going into a place that I wasn't comfortable with at all. When somebody with little integrity, with good stories, good seemed appeared to be good intent, is stop talking about starting a church. I got to get out.
I think there's always someone else that picks up on your work. I think nobody should be, left, but there's definitely a place where you are not in charge of other people, and you don't have to take care of people that you don't have energy for. If you are given the energy, that's is for me the sign that this is a person you can take care of, like. But if that energy is removed, I think this is oftentimes the moment to let go and to let someone else pick up on your work. And oftentimes also letting go is helping the other person to wake up
So,
too.
you're talking about tough love and setting boundaries,
Yeah, yeah, kind of, yeah.
and sometimes, and I like to draw from a lot of things. Sometimes the trees have wisdom that are plants. Plants are good at this too. That they'll make a whole bunch of plants die. So their species, if you call plants species, will survive. And then also there's certain things in our body that are collapsing and going back and forth, so we survive. Like certain parts of our bodies dying in the moment, so certain parts of our body can live. It's a whole, and there's people that can explain this scientifically a lot more, but also they got so much in their stuff in their head that it's hard for them to find peace.
There's also something I want to add to what you said, because there is this, and I think I shared this also here before, like in the Yellowstone Park, they had wolves they
Hey,
reintroduced
boo boo.
huh?
The
They
Yogi the
reintroduced
Bears from,
wolves.
yeah. Say
Yeah,
that again.
they
What they do?
reintroduced wolves to the Yellowstone Park. And so
How
wolves were
so?
eating more of the deer and chasing the deer away from the plains, like where there's no forest. And so that
Yeah.
it caused the entire environment to heal. So us from a perspective of humans, and we see some humans that are actually, doing evil. For example, like if we were deer, yeah, we would see wolves coming and doing evil to us, and would say, damn, these wolves have to get enlightened and they have to listen to Eckhart Tolle. But maybe, as we are judging, still we're just judging and we don't see the whole picture. And maybe some parasites, they're necessary for the whole thing to heal. So I'm just saying it's not necessarily like this, but it could be like this, you know. Yeah.
I agree. I don't see it that in every moment because I'm not enlightened, and like everybody, sometimes I am,
Yeah.
sometimes I'm not. I would go the farthest I would go with me is enlightened-ish. That's the farthest I would go. Um, but and if I just compared myself to like the people I see around on a daily basis, then I would think I was enlightened. But I would guess that anybody would do that. So that's with humility. I believe I'm not enlightened. So going back to that is that's one of those things that a lot of times people try to take away the negative, and ultimately it and the cool thing about what you're talking about is that chaos or that bad energy or whatever is the balance, because the darkness helps us see the light. But the really cool thing about that is most of us, because we're not enlightened, are coming together with people because of an outside common enemy,
Yeah.
real or imagined. But I see it, the good of it, like some of the stuff that happens, like some of the stuff that happens on the world stage. Sometimes I think, is that something that really didn't happen, and that's just our angels getting us to come together? And trust me, that's not based in science. That's just something that pops in my mind.
Yeah.
A obstacle that could be possible, not probable, but could be possible, because I don't just focus on the bad. I see how it's bringing people together. I see how people are having more of the important conversations that they didn't want to have. I see that because a lot of people think it's the worst time in history, and they don't acknowledge that people
No.
didn't like in during my lifetime early on. Most people didn't give a fuck about kids, and now you go into a coffee shop and the children are like, okay, do you want to sit at this table? I mean, the parents are like, you want to sit at this table? And yes, some of the generations coming up are more sensitive, but sensitive is not all bad. um but when you have like strong supportive stuff and then you go into the real world, sometimes it doesn't prepare you necessarily. A lot of the older generations, they say, hey, it's a cruel world, let me beat you so you're prepared for that's the parents, let me beat you so you're prepared for the bad world, when you're probably like you're part of the fucking bad world when you're doing that. um so the common enemy it brings us together. It's one of the and it can happen like it bring the world together. Like if we go, there's aliens and say they're bad aliens, that's going to bring the whole world together. Now we're all on the same team. Um,
Yeah,
that's
this is
why
what happened with Ukraine also,
grandparents,
yeah. Like
for sure.
Europeans were really kind of like uh you know, they were not united and now they're super united. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's why grandparents get along with grandchildren, because they have a common enemy, the one in the middle.
The hardworking people that are the only ones that are working in this triangle.
Yeah, for sure. So it's one of those things that's working. So it's working better than anything. That us having a common enemy, even though I don't think we should have to have it, it's working better than anything. If everybody was like you and I, we wouldn't need that step.
Well, more and more
Most,
people are realizing, I think, yeah. Yeah.
uh, but there's so much evolving. That's not a destination. That's just the start of healing. What you're talking about right there.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
just the start.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you're seeing that too, because I'm seeing that. But still, that's just the start, because a lot of people just don't see that. Um, and probably the way that we're because we're like that, we're attracting more people like that. But we can all agree that there needs to be more of that.
Yeah. You know that this is a tangent and this is not, you know that what the word angel means in translated?
Translates to
If
German.
you were referring to angels, I wonder sometimes if the angels put together a fictitious enemy so we would unite. Is that what you said, right? Yeah.
Yeah, common
You know
enemy.
what the word angel means in English?
No.
It's messenger. So it's so interesting, you know, so many words they have this super heavy, like I told you before, Satan and devil. I'm not even necessarily saying that there is an entity, a soul or an entity like Satan, but I'm just saying the very fact that we're not translating the words is so misleading in all of history. And angel is not translated, it means messenger. And if you say that it is a messenger, maybe it's just a human, it's not that super. It could be a messenger from another dimension, but not necessarily, so it's so important to translate the words, and it's such a sad thing that they weren't so many, yeah.
It's interesting because I think that's part of it, because if all these messages were so clear and so in front of our faces, we wouldn't see them because we'd take them for granted. So I think they're hidden in plain sight for a reason. And
Yeah.
I'm always, I mean, and thanks for sharing that. I'm always like finding new things and different things, and opening myself to those understanding. To a lot of people, it seems crazy, but the results I'm getting, and the way that I can process information, I'm like not apologizing in any way for it.
Hmm.
Um, Anything else?
Yeah, it makes me think of and I'm not at all saying that this topic is more important than any other topic. Actually, it's the ego of Christianity that makes people put people under pressure to think that these topics are more important, but they're not, and they're not even necessary to get to the ultimate enlightenment, which is love. But because I come from this background and 10 years of theology and so on, this is one of the topics I know most about, and this is where I can do some work. So and this thing about the angel and what you just said reminds me also of another mistranslation. Holy Spirit is a mistranslation, and it's a mistranslation in German, Heiliger Geist. It's a mistranslation in Spanish, Espíritu Santo, and it's a mistranslation in French, Saint Esprit. It always is Holy Spirit, and it's all wrong. It's not that. It's special wind or special breath. And it's so interesting if you take that nature part in, and also we always talk about ego, and you said that the messengers make themselves invisible in plain sight. And what is the wind? You can't see the wind. You can only see its effect. So ego needs to be personified. He needs to be a person, and to some extent, if you're not a person, if you're not embodied, then if you don't have a body, or if you remove your body, which happened, for example, with Jesus, yeah, then you're taking your ego away, because you can't, like rule, or and the same is with the wind, so I find it so interesting that, and also what I find interesting is the big breath is so the big breath is the wind, and the small wind is the breath, and the breath is your life. You breathe it every single moment. So in other words, it is so full of metaphors, and makes it so clear who God, and that's also an overused and bad word, but who being, or we are, like, because we all are God. This is also a theological interpretation of the New Testament, that we all are his body. So we're part of, it's really, we are God, and so all of that is so lost in translation, and it's so sad. Yeah.
The There is and I don't know if I brought this up but and I may have brought it up every podcast. So the cross, this part of it has to do with your spiritual connection, and this part of it has to do with like the being in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and has to do with not being of the world.
Yeah.
And and the I was walking to San Diego State at a time 10 years ago, might have been last week, for 2 weeks straight, might have just happened once. A crow was flying across right to the Presbyterian church right across the street from San Diego State, and
Mm-hmm.
it landed on the top of the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And crows represent death, and I believe that Holy Spirit and that wind is dying to the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like bring like having I am present, having all the beliefs that you have to have in this moment. Like Buddhists say, not projecting to the future or clinging to the past. Just
Exactly.
be like, I am.
The narrow gate
Like,
Jesus is talking about. I think also this is about the present. Yep.
yeah, for sure. And that echoes what you were saying earlier. And then one thing I wanted to put on Messenger, like recently I had a situation where I gave a ride to this lady for the audience. I also do Lyft, opposed to in addition to many other things. But I was giving the lady this ride, and she was on the phone. But I picked her up at this collision center because she got in an accident,
Mm-hmm.
and I believe there are no accidents. And this story will tell how there are no
Mm-hmm.
accidents. There are no accidents or mistakes. They're just messages and lessons. No accidents and mistakes. So she was parked. She was at this collision center, and then I was driving her across to an Enterprise, but I didn't look where I was driving her. I was driving her across to the Enterprise, and plus she was on the phone. If we
Mm-hmm.
would have been talking, we probably would have figured this out. And that's why it's important to learn from the people around you, even if you feel that you're at a sophisticated level or whatever the case is. So we're at the collision center that's by the airport in San Diego. We drive 20 minutes around, and the GPS told me to stop at a place, and it's also another collision center. So since I hadn't been talking to her, I thought she worked at a collision center, and she was just going from one location to the other. But all of a sudden she goes, "Oh, did I just go to another collision center? I want to go to Enterprise." And then I was like, "Oh, the other the GPS is saying go around the corner," and then it's an Enterprise, and she's going, "Oh my goodness, I'm so stupid. I should have gone to this collision center because it's right by the Enterprise." But when you make a judgment, how we were talking about earlier about being stupid, you may miss the message, or you miss the lesson or the message,
Mm. And the journey. Yeah.
because there was also on the other side of town where she was by the collision center, there was the Enterprise. So 20 minutes away, there was over by the airport, and then there was a collision center and an Enterprise, and then on the other side there was a collision and an Enterprise. But I believe she got into the accident because she needed to learn this message. But she was saying that she was stupid, so she didn't even get the message.
Mm-hmm.
She totally missed out. Like, all that was created based on it, and that karma, and we all have karma for different things, but that specific karma will still be in her DNA, or still be somewhere in her, or still be in her strategies until she's able to heal it. And there's a lot of stuff
You
that
should
I've.
have woken her up. Did
She
you
was
say?
on the phone. She was
Oh,
on the
okay.
phone.
Cool.
Yeah, I do that. I do that all the time. And
Mm.
and tell you the truth, why I'm having these conversations, it's waking me up too. Like
Yeah.
a lot of times, because I learned, I was like, oh shit, I'm having more judgments on the fact that I'm doing it. But part of her being on the phone, where we have to be on the phone sometimes, I'm not saying that. Part of her being on the phone, or part of her being distracted, or I notice sometimes people are like, why we can have the artificial intelligence that's telling us where to turn. They're so caught up in the turns that they're not looking to the fact that we're two humans that can really sit here. Why we just let artificial intelligence going, like having game changing conversations and
Mm.
collaborating to do really amazing things in the world. A lot of people don't have that consciousness, but a lot of people get into my car and they get that immediately. And they got two nickels to rub together, or they're multimillionaires. I don't know if I've given a billionaire a ride
Mm.
to get. I've given multimillionaires that know billionaires and collaborate with billionaires, but I don't think I mean, but I appreciate all. I appreciate all people.
Mm.
If you're a good, as Bob said, if you're a goodie instead of a baddie.
Let's
Um,
close on this because we're out of time.
okay, and we'll close. I'll say that we're out of time, but time doesn't exist.
That's right. That's right. It's the everlasting present moment and it never ceases.
So he says we're out of time, but the most important thing from this is that this ripples into your life. That because I was here, that I'm going to learn more and see the world differently in a more positive ways, and I'm going to be able to consume less energy, doing more good. And that's the goal of this, not to sit And this is a contact sport. Watching our podcast is a contact sport. We want you to go out in the world. As one of the things I say, I create ripples, not slaves. I want you, if you're just hearing our voice like one time, we want you to be changed when you go out in the world. Don't wait to come back and see us. We want you to be changed when you go out the world. We want to see your podcast. We want to see you out in the world doing great things. I want you to do better shit than me. But just also know that I'm not going to fucking be sleeping, going half-ass so you can do better stuff. I'm going to be bringing it, but still I want you to do better than me.
So be it. Amen, amen.
Amen, amen. Thank you very much.
Stay in the line.
This is one of my favorite.
All right.